you certainly have a stake in who leads the Liberal Party because they lead the opposition. And as you say, hopefully you get back into coalition so they'll lead an opposition that includes the Nationals. Do you believe that Sussan Ley can survive as leader?
Chris, I think anything I say as a Nationals MP about the Liberal leadership will be a bad thing for me to do in regard to what I want to be the outcome and what may or may not be in the best interest of the Nationals. So I am not going to say a word which is appropriate as a Nationals MP about the Liberal leadership.
What are your assessments of Andrew Hastie as a political leader?
Look, I know Andrew very well. I sat next to him in the Parliament before he resigned and went to the backbench. I sat next to him for over 3 years. I like Andrew. Obviously, his record as an SAS soldier. He's a very, he has a lot of ethics, a lot of integrity, as does, I know Angus Taylor very well. Angus Taylor is a big brain. So obviously, and Sussan has been leading the party. So again, know them all well. Not going to make a comment, Chris.
Will your own leader stay in the job? Will David Littleproud lead the Nationals to the next election?
I firmly believe he will, Chris, because the one thing David does, he's very transparent with the room. Our room, having had 7 or 8 meetings on this policy this week, and then a number of meetings about our approaches to the Liberal Party, their response and what we should do, was all a joint decision. It was a decision made by the majority of the room, not David Littleproud. So he has the support because he does everything in such a transparent way.
Let me get your thoughts on the Australia Day protests today. We had the usual Invasion Day rallies, which strangely, although they tend to be focused on Indigenous issues, have wrapped in pro-Palestine, anti-Israel elements today, chanting Intifada from the river to the sea, these hateful slogans we've become so used to. But there were these other protests supporting Australia Day with some far-right elements involved. And I'm just reading reports that I mentioned at the top of the program that police have arrested a man from one of those protests in Sydney who's saying that the Jews are the biggest enemy to the nation. So on either side of the political spectrum, we've still got this anti-Semitism and this hatred in our midst. Your thoughts on that on this great day?
Yeah, Chris, I love Australia, always have. And I've had a great day. I've been out at Benalbo, which is the far left of my community. There were hundreds of people there. It's quite a small community, but there were hundreds of people there. There were Australian flags on my drive out, flying off utes, flying off houses, on flagpoles. It had a real feel of a celebration in my community. So, I heard you a bit about the ABC too, Chris. Can I just say, when I was driving home from Benalbo to do this interview, I only listened to the ABC briefly. I don't listen to them a lot, but I did happen to go through on that 3:30, the news update, the news report at 3:30 on statewide New South Wales, mentioned one story at the start about Invasion Day rallies being well attended across the nation, and the one in Sydney was big, and then went to a different story, not Australia Day related, and didn't cover any positive story about Australia Day at their 3:30 afternoon update on statewide. So just to support what your analysis was earlier. But
it should be called the double ABC, the Anti-Australia Broadcasting Corporation.
But the good news, Chris, is, and you've seen the polling as well, and I can feel it when I'm around in the community, the younger community, the 18 to 25-year-old, there's a resurgence in a belief and a love in Australia and for Australia Day, and not to change the date. And Chris, I think Bondi's had an impact on this. The community, we as Australians feel very threatened now about what happened in Bondi, as we should. And I think that's caused a resurgence in the love for Australia Day to get behind the values that we believe in. And I think that's helped the cause.
You can't take them for granted. You've got to fight for your values and defend them. Thanks so much for joining us, Kevin. I appreciate it.